Live now. Let me full screen you. Bring OBS back up if I can even get it. Cool. So, say some stuff.
We are live? Or are you testing?
Yeah, we're live now. Just wanted to make sure
Hey everyone.
audio desktop can hear ya.
Just found it.
7 viewers. Let me bring this over here so I can see the chat.
Yeah, I wanted to.
We're live, guys. My first cup of coffee of the day. Hey, everybody. Let us know if everything is running smoothly.
Yeah, make everybody tell me if my audio is coming in loudly.
All right, we're ready. So
how do you want to start? What do you want to talk about? Your channel?
the most important channel on YouTube. Kidding. Sort of. Have you heard of? I don't know his name, but it's this comedy YouTuber, and he said his bit is he's the only channel on YouTube. I forget the name. He's like, "Hey guys, so this is the only channel on YouTube." So blah blah blah. I kind of stole that right there.
Does feel that way.
Yeah. Do you think there's enough tutorial guides on YouTube, or do you think there's other gaps that need to be filled?
So I haven't told too many people about this. I'm trying to fill in a new gap, so I'm kind of leaving behind fast tutorials. Sorry, everyone. I'm bringing in green screen tutorials. I think that's the gap. So
Oh, really?
I don't know. I think there's no super entertaining tutorials other than the fast format, and that's what I'm gonna try to do.
What do you think is more important? Educational tutorials, which would be like more than 15 minutes, or like fast, bite-sized like nuggets of goodness?
So my theory on it is that these two people, there's two groups, and they're separate. One group of people actually want tutorials, and then the people who say they want them fast, I don't believe them. So what I did is I have one tutorial channel that are like 20-minute videos or however long it takes me, and then CG Matter I'm just messing around with now and doing more like entertainment stuff that you could theoretically learn from, but I don't know why you would.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed CG Matt. So, I forgot what I was gonna say there. But yeah, I noticed you do quite a bit of meme stuff, um, as well. Which is like, I was watching your channel. I was like, before I began talking to you, I was like, is he trying to do tutorials or is he trying to do memes?
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'm
at first I'm like, oh, I'll make the tutorials faster because everybody wants higher like density of information. Then I realized you can't follow this at all.
I was surprised that you're able to do both and still get consistent viewership on memes and tutorials. You just have a
Yeah,
really funny fan base, which
yeah,
I
that's the
appreciate
thing.
reading. They said
I think
where
it's all personality driven.
they said where is Ian Hubert? He's in the woods. If you follow him on Instagram, he literally lives in the woods.
It's probably in some production. He's always doing stuff.
Yeah, he's super cool. He bought a I have not talked to him personally, but he bought a church. I think he gutted it out and he's like using it as a set. He's like making these sci-fi stuff. Have you watched his talk for the Blender conference?
Yeah, I watched the talk.
It's so funny. My favorite
Yeah.
part, I actually screen grabbed it, like screen recorded it, put it on my Instagram because I thought it was so funny. He goes, he was showing this clip. He goes, I made this in a time warp between 1 a.m. No, it goes between the time where I say I'm going to go to sleep and the time I actually go to sleep, and that's when I usually get most of the work done in my life. I'm like, that's all of us.
Yeah, he's such a good public speaker, especially when you look at all these other like Blender talks or Blender Con talks, whatever they call them.
Once somebody said fast tutorials are just entertaining and the long ones are actual learning. I noticed a. It's funny. I noticed a legitimate change in the comments. So my goal was always to try to keep my videos either under 10 minutes or very close to 10 minutes. So sometimes I would speed things up and whatever. And before Ian Hubert came, I would get fairly often comments saying slow down, but I didn't want to do that. So, and then Ian Hubert all of a sudden showed up, and it was funny. I didn't know about him until Blender Binge. He messaged me. He's like, "Hey," he goes, "Hey, if you're planning on doing those fast style tutorials, be careful because I just did one, and the entire community crapped on you."
Mm.
I think you saw
I,
that.
I saw the exact video and I saw the response. He got destroyed. People hated it.
I only did that once. The only time I actually got legitimate hate on a video, so it was a sponsorship, and I clearly didn't know. Well, I knew how to use image textures. I just didn't apply them very correctly, and I deleted the video and I refunded the company. But that's how I found out about Ian Hubert, was through Blender Binge messaging me. It's like, I don't know who this guy is. I checked him out and he had like 30,000 subscribers, and then I watched him blow up, and because of that, there was a literal shift in my comments where people will tell me to speed up, and no one told me to slow down.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I mean, I clearly did it. CG Geek kind of does it. He kind of flip flops. I think he's trying to decide.
Yeah, I think he's just doing whatever the he believes will get views, which is, gotta make your living.
Which is, I don't know. It's kind of a shame because I do think, in my opinion, tutorials should be long, or as long as they need to be.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think I think my channel just sort of exists right in the middle of that, where it's like kind of fast, but long enough for you to understand. And sort of my intention is for you, as you're watching it, is to pause it, do the thing, and then press play. So just like have your hand on the space bar as you're working, because that's how I always did it. My videos are not meant to be like real time done. I think like if you watch, say, Olaf 3D, I think you could probably do his real time, and then Midge, Mantisa, you can probably do his real time, but his streams are very sort of random. So I think you would just sort of watch them like that. But yeah, there's not a lot of tutorials that you can watch real time, so why try? And it just makes them extra long. And then my thing is like, I am sort of daunted by a 45-minute tutorial. Like my day's only so long, and I'm trying to learn something, so I don't even click them.
yeah. I mean, for me, I wish specifically my tutorials weren't project oriented, but idea oriented. I so much prefer talking about like the idea behind why you would plug in certain nodes in sequence rather than make a certain project, because I feel like then people really care about the speed because they are following it step by step, and that's not what I want to do.
Yeah,
But
one guy said, did I lose it? He goes, for me, it's like many times I don't need step-by-step video. I just need the idea from it. And I think that falls into some channels are for certain levels. Like I tell many people, I say, don't start, if you just started Blender, don't watch my videos. Watch the donut tutorials by Blender Guru and then come to my channel, because I'm sort of like the next level up. And then Ian Hubert is like 2 levels up, where you got to be pretty good at Blender, and then you could watch his video and know exactly what he did. I mean, his recent one about the flags, that one's pretty simple. That's a pretty easy tutorial, but there's ones that were about like the depth pass and things like that you would already probably want to know about the depth pass, and you'd be like, oh, that's a cool application for that. Let me go do that now. So his videos are for very experienced people. Mine are for mid-level, and like the donut series is, obviously made for people who are just starting, and that's definitely cool for YouTube that you don't have to pay for that.
I wonder how Ian picks his ideas, because I would imagine he probably has this issue of if he can't explain whatever he wants to talk about in a minute, he just can't do it, which is why I think he picks certain topics. Like, because most of what he does, when you look at the stuff he makes for people as freelancing or for his own projects, they're these giant scale things.
Yeah,
And I think he has to pick something that he can explain in 30 seconds, which kind of sucks, I think. I mean, I
think
like his tutorials. But.
he definitely comes up, because I watch his Instagram and I can see sort of what he's working on during the week. He definitely comes up with tutorials as he's designing a scene, which is what I did in the beginning. I would just sit down, have some inspiration, and make something cool, and then I'd go, okay, let's make a tutorial for this. I think, like, the duck ones, he was definitely like designing a scene that needed ducks, and he's like, oh, ducks. Or the flags, he just, he's making this scene of like this train coming through this weird rundown looking city, and there's all these flags, and he's like, oh, it's so easy to make flags, let's do a tutorial. That's my guess. I would love to interview him about this.
We should have you contacted him in any way?
I haven't, and that's a great idea.
Blender podcast.
That's something I've been
streams.
wanting. That's one thing I've been wanting to do. I think I emailed Olaf. I emailed Dirk Elliott about doing a podcast, but when I did it, it was a point in my month that was just like definitely not going to happen.
I mean, I don't even know what the format would be, but I think it's an interesting idea, especially if you get, 4 or 5 people.
Yeah. I mean, well, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I think the max should be 3 people talking. After that, it's just sort of like a debate, chaos
You think
situation.
so? You think if you think you could find like the certain people in the tutorial community that would talk over each other? I haven't seen anybody that's super aggro.
I
That I
think
feel
it's
like super aggro.
experienced people. Like, there's a comedy podcast called Fire and the Kid, and they'll have like 4 people, but they're all comedians. They're all experienced, so they know when to talk and when to come in. But if you don't have any experience with podcasts, including me, it's easy to just like not get the flow of a conversation, but ba 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 ba, and then the people listening to it's like this is just chaos. I can't even focus.
So if you had to pick a structure, would it even be Blender related at all?
Um, I think it would just be us Blender people, and then people would come and we would probably eventually end up talking about it. I already have a podcast planned that's going to start in August with just a buddy of mine. It's going to be called Nothing Specific, and it's just really for me. I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts while I'm working because I don't want to hear about work while I'm working. I want sort of like that release of just something else entertaining while I'm working. So that's what my podcast is going to be, and it's going to be just this I mean, in the name, just nothing specific, and it's just gonna be a fun. My buddy, one of the most interesting like conversationalists I've ever met, and he's definitely gonna be like the best part of that podcast. So I'm moving into a new apartment in August, and then we're gonna be moving in together, and we're gonna be starting that. And I'm super excited. But I want to do another interview podcast that's about Blender because I know a lot of the people following me will probably want that.
Good idea. I would be happy to be a guest on any of those.
Oh,
Just
dude,
letting you know.
if you're ever in Nashville, honestly, we can have.
Nashville, Tennessee, right?
Yeah, where are you at?
Yeah. I'm in Massachusetts,
Mm.
which I guess is like half close.
Where is Boston located near? I
It's
mean,
probably like 1,000 miles away. I don't know.
I've been to Boston once when I was really young, and I just walked everywhere, and I was sore for like 3 days. But it was a fun experience.
Oh, by the way, people in the chat, feel free to ask anything. So I was watching I was watching your Nebula thing, and I
Mm-hmm.
was wondering, you mixed. I mean, this is just specific. You mixed, I think, object coordinates with some noise. Was that experimenting, or did you have like some kind of idea behind that? Because I'm curious, because with noises, it just seems like stacking randomness on randomness. So I want to know.
So that was a specific thing. Okay, you know what Voronoi looks like, right? It's
Yeah.
very edged,
Yep.
straight edges. If I want to make that Voronoi edges sort of look bumpy and rigidy and stuff, I'll go to that section, add that noise texture to it, and then of course it just completely ruins it. So I have to add a mix RGB to the nether socket and then use that
Hmm.
factor. So that's something I do a lot is adding a noise texture in that vector zone and then using the mix RGB just to use a little bit of the noise to add detail. Sorry, got some drinking coffee. Yeah, if you do that, it really adds that detail into very planar things. Like if you have, say, you add a Voronoi that's like cut, sort of in the bump that cuts holes into something, and it's obviously going to be very planar, and you want it to make it look like a very messed up, rocky thing. Add the noise. So if you use that technique on tons of things, it's the thing I do most of the time actually when I'm using nodes.
Have you thought about making your own like Polygon-esque texture service?
That's something I'm talking to my roommate now, who's a web developer. We're considering how much it's going to cost to make an e-commerce site, and then once I get this next product out, it'll either be one big pack with 200 materials, and then under that it'll be the themed materials. Like there's like a wood pack, there's this weave pack, there's this pack under it that you could, so you don't have to pay the whole price. You can buy the themed ones, or if we can do an e-commerce site, you can buy each individual material. So that's something that I have to look into and see how much. Southern Shotty's in the chat. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so we're working on how we're gonna display this next product in the next 3 months, which will be big
Hmm.
or not,
Well, the
regardless.
the thing if you're selling them as like procedural things instead of as textures, the hosting cost is going to be zero because it's just like this a couple nodes, which is like a couple kilobytes. Like
Yeah,
yeah, it's going to be
it's
very cost effective.
as far as I'm aware, I'm only going to be selling procedural materials for the reason of procedural materials are just annoying to make and hard to learn. So if you just have a massive pack of already made procedural materials, as a designer, I think that's a huge asset for you. So I think it's super helpful to have that. Like a wood texture is just a huge pain. And then what
Hmm.
if you need other iterations? So like my last pack, I paid String Fairy, who now goes by a different name, which I can't remember.
So, yeah, I don't remember. It's like Sineth. I forget.
Has a Y in there. No
Yeah.
disrespect to him, he's amazing.
Hmm.
But I paid him for 10 wood shaders, and they're incredible.
Hmm.
So those are super cool. On the
So
topic of
somebody,
him,
yeah.
it's on the channel, his launch video. It's amazing. Hold on, let me see if I can actually pronounce it here. Let me go to the video. But yeah, he's one of the. He's. I would put him in line with. Who's the guy? Who's that other procedural guy? Simon Thomas.
Well, that guy's insane.
His
Simon.
Nodevember. Nodevember is just a whole nother thing that I find to be absolutely incredible. That I learned a lot from. Hold on, I missed the link. Here it is. It is pronounced. Drum roll. Never mind, I can't pronounce it. But I'll spell it. Syncretic.
Watch him
Cynit.
for material videos.
Cynitric. I'm dyslexic, so don't rely on me for pronunciation.
So somebody in your chat asked, and I think it's kind of a silly question. Well, what should I learn first? Maya, 3ds Max, Blender. So
You would just learn one of them.
you're gonna learn one of them, and you're not gonna pay, considering it's something you're picking up for the first time. Just learn, just learn Blender or get a trial for something. It doesn't matter. It really they're all like nobody likes to admit it. They're all the same. They're
Curtis
all
Holt.
almost the same.
Curtis Holt's in the chat. The only one that I think is the one that differentiates all of them is Houdini.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the if Houdini if I could, you know, make my day 12 hours longer, like we had like a 36-hour day, I would probably purchase Houdini and try to learn it because the things I see from it are incredible. And someone who works with a lot of he's however you pronounce it. No disrespect to you, man.
Syncretic.
Syncretic. He's in the chat too.
Hey, hey.
I apologize for not being able to pronounce it. My dyslexia is just raging. And I forgot what I was talking about.
You were talking about Houdini and
Yeah, the things that I see from it are just incredible. And someone who makes a lot of art and for like I make a lot of visual packages for tours and stuff, they generally lean toward abstract. So having those weird things for them that are looping, it's incredible what they can make.
that would be good for loops.
Yeah, and sort of I have this unwritten rule that any of my animations they have to loop because I usually sell most of the things I make. Like I post it on Instagram, eventually someone wants it, so if it loops, I can just send it. I don't have to redo it.
Hmm. And back to whoever asked what program, you should start with whatever. Even Houdini, if you use it in a certain way, you don't even need to touch proceduralism. They're all the same at a learning level. So
Yeah,
just pick one.
honestly, if money is an issue, okay, two things. So if you already have the Adobe suite, then use Adobe Dimension and just put your feet in the water. If you like it, get Blender to get more into it because Blender's free. And then do your research. And if you like Cinema 4D, if you like Maya more than Blender or Houdini or whatever, then go to those because you already know, okay, I'm willing to put in the work to learn these vast programs. Yeah.
So somebody specific. I mean, I'm sorry to deliver this to your doorstep, but somebody specifically asked you to make a sci-fi looking time lapse cartoon. Do you ever take suggestions from people? I'm curious.
Most of the time, the suggestions are pretty out there. So I usually can't just because of the suggestion. Sometimes I do. There are like lightning. I'm still working on lightning, and I found some procedural methods. So I've gotten lightning a couple times. I still want to tackle that. I get a ton of character modeling and rigging tutorials, and I keep
Yep.
saying
Yep.
I don't do that. And that's not like to be mean. I've never touched modeling and rigging. Southern Shoddy is the guy who you would definitely want to go and ask him about that stuff because he does it for a living. He's really good at character design and modeling and rigging. So he's definitely the guy, but I'm not. If you look at my entire portfolio on the YouTube or my Instagram, there's not a single character on there that I made. So,
Yes.
and I mean, I'm not opposed to learning it. I just haven't learned it, so I can't teach it.
Yes. Everybody wants a character to model it, then to rig it, then to animate it. And for any CG Matter viewers here, let me address you guys directly. Never gonna happen. I'm not doing it. No. I don't like it.
I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but it's going to be a long time.
It's not only do I not specialize in it, but I'm just not interested in it.
If you're willing to pay CG Cookie and their website, there's a lot of stuff on there, and I think they do have that for you. So if you're willing to get like the citizen package, that'll probably get that for you. I'm about to have 2 tutorials on there, so I have access to them, so I've looked at it. But yeah, they have some good stuff for you if you learn it. If you want to learn some like really technical stuff like that in terms of like practical application for games and things like that, they have that for you.
Yep. Not from us, at least in the near term.
How does the audio animate the meshes? That would be you'd take an audio, it somehow convert it to keyframes. It would be I can't remember the number. I mean the button. I have 2 tutorials on it. But
I think there's a way to do it through the graph editor.
that's exactly yeah. That's how I did it. You take some audio, you right click it, and it recognizes the wavelength patterns, and you apply those keyframes to whatever thing you want. What I want to do, I got a buddy of mine who's a producer, so I want to get some stems from him, which are like the little sections of the song, and apply them to different points and get this really cool thing. There's some bigger projects I want to do, so like some more passion projects to get more interesting clients that I want to do some pretty interesting audio reactive stuff, and this new computer will allow me to actually do that, so which is exciting. And CoreWeave.
Well, what are those passion projects, at least in theory?
Okay, so there's one I want to make a whole music video. I've done before I did Blender, I did lyric videos, and that's still one of my higher paid and more frequent gigs is lyric videos, which is 100% done in After Effects. But instead of doing a lyric video, I just want to make a audio visual to some very abstract audio. Probably, I want to do it for the song by Lucien Blomkamp. He's a super interesting creative producer. But basically, I want to make a really cool, just audio reactive scene. If I can, I can't get the link for it, can I? But there's some like inspiration I found online, some stuff that Owsla, which is Skrillex's label, they do a lot of cool stuff like that. Like Jazz Davis, he's super cool. He uses Cinema 4D, but he does a lot of compositing with just interesting footage that he films and adds some really cool stuff. So if you want a lot of like weird visual inspiration, anything that Owsla, OWSLA, I believe it's pronounced, but it's Skrillex's record label, and their art department is incredible. So I want to do something that kind of is very Owsla looking, it's very abstract and dark and weird, and then get the song, which I already know what song I want it to be. And that's a passion project that'll take a while, but hopefully 2020, before the first half of 2020, I'll knock it out. And then,
When you were doing those lyric videos in After Effects, you said was that mostly like typography stuff?
yeah, if you guys want to see it, hold on. It's by Justin Caruso. I'll pull it up real quick. Justin Caruso. If you look up Justin Caruso, Don't Know You, I did that. It's at 2.5 million views. I didn't know it was that high. But let's see, can I pull it up here? I'll just put it in the chat for those of you who are interested in my old work.
You know who Derek Elliott is?
That guy's awesome. I've talked to him multiple times. He's super cool.
I don't know him. Let me look into it.
Yeah, he makes tutorials. Let's see.
If a traveler...
Whoop. Don't want to get copyrighted. All right, so I'm going to paste that into the stream for those of you who are interested in my old 2D work, which I haven't abandoned. I just haven't done it recently. Yeah, Derek's awesome. He's super
Oh,
cool.
he's the guy who made the. I've seen the boat thing on the subreddit. Okay, cool.
Derek said, Derek. I said Derek. Got a lot of, I got a bunch of TUD ideas. Can't settle on one to finish. I wish I had a lot of TUD ideas. I have trouble coming up with them. But my problem is, so December is always slow for clients, for any freelancer. And if I'm not doing client work, I'm not solving problems visually. So I usually come up with my tutorials through my client work. So it's been a bit of a slow month.
So you don't have like a pre-made list or anything to choose from?
I have a rough list. I'll read it.
Okay, yeah, I'll read mine after.
So my notes. All right. I want to make a tutorial about 3 unique metal shaders. It's like a metal carp paint material, which I already knocked out. Nebula, knocked that one out. I want to redo that sci-fi landscape, that motherboard looking thing, because when Voronoi changed, ruined that tutorial. So I want to redo that. If you know the Skrillex Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites album cover, I want to make a fun tutorial just doing my take on it.
Is that like the particle explosion one in the background?
No, it might be, but it's green and red. That there's a shape that does like that, has Skrillex in the middle, has these abstract. Okay. I want to do my own take on that because that's to this day my favorite album cover. And there's this really interesting hair particle abstract thing that I still need to muck with. And then I have some notes about other things for the product.
Okay, I'll read mine. And by the way, Derek, Syncretic, I'm watching you. If you take these ideas, okay, let me just read them. So these are just very loose. So one of them's like the Harry Potter invisibility cloak thing that he wears in the movies. I thought that'd be cool. Wire removal, cross hatching to make your animations look like you drew them, and I have head stabilization here. I don't know why. So, oh yeah, I think I saw the clown thing, and there's a shot where his head stabilized. I thought that was funny. So there's my list.
Sorry, I'm head stable. Is that where like they have it looks like the camera's like stuck to the head when you're walking?
Yeah, and the whole body is like shifting off of it. It's
Yeah.
like if you look at a chicken's head.
Yeah, I've seen that in a couple movies. It's super cool. It says, Derek said, Ducky, since you like audio viz so much, I would like to see more of that. I have done it in the past, but some reason in 2.8 I'm having trouble baking animation besides scale, location, ROT. Yeah, I need to get back into it. There's somebody actually sent me their plugin that they're developing right now, but it's only in development. That is promising. Derek said, I promise I won't steal any. You don't have to worry about stealing.
Somebody asks both of us, any tips for cutting out photo scan textures and architectural renders? I'm trying to speed up my workflow for my firm and need some ideas to cut out or speed up my process.
I've never done that.
Cutting out photo scan textures? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Are you talking like taking just a flat image and then making that an image texture?
Well, I think it's a bit more than that because he's saying photo scan. So let's say let's say you're taking a picture of like a pillar that's a cylinder, but you want to unwrap that to be flat. I don't know. I made a tutorial about it. Go watch it. I don't have it on. I don't have it on mind right now.
Shameless self promo. Go watch our channels.
Yeah.
What time is it? It is 2:47. You're an hour ahead of me, I believe.
Yeah, it's 3:47.
Yeah, I didn't calculate that in when you said you got to be done by a certain time.
Well, don't worry. We still have tons of time.
Yeah.
As much as we need. Somebody asked us to make dynamic snow. CG Geek made that, and you knew that while typing it. So
you knew that.
Yeah. This is why I don't take requests most of the time. Your requests are garbage, guys. Most of them. I just don't. I don't mess with them.
What's your thought process on making a tutorial that you know has already been done? Is it okay to make it if you can do it better, or
yeah, you make it better? Okay, I've done that.
There's this there's this guy who wrote a book which I haven't read, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It's called Steal Like an Artist, and he was basically, and that's not called stealing. It's called stealing like an artist, not plagiarism. Let's clarify that. But one of his one of his things he was saying is, it's take some inspiration, do what you can, and put your take on it, or do it better. And that's how you can improve, and that's how the art community as a whole will improve. So, I've done it once or twice where I was very much aware that someone had done the tutorial. Is either because it was done like a version way back, or I just know a much easier way to do it, and then I'll make the tutorial. But I'll credit them in the description anyways, because I just don't want to see the comments. But I think it's okay if you have a different approach to solve a problem. This is teaching, and at the end of the day, this is a community, and we all grow from each other. And, I've had a problem with one guy before, and I, apologized and had some issues. But at the end of the day, we're all community. And as long as you're not spiting someone, and as long as you're transparent about what you're doing, I think it's okay. As long as you're not taking money from someone or taking, credit from someone, be respectful and be kind.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's even weirder than like, stealing or mimicking like different render results. You're like talking about remaking a tutorial, and there's no intellectual property over teaching a method. If anybody wants to take either of our tutorials and make it better, then that's better for everyone. If you can make a tutorial better.
I had one guy
Yeah.
download my tutorial, upload it with music, and just put subtitles.
Yeah,
And that doesn't count.
It's different. Yeah. Yeah, that's why in my tutorials I'm trying to separate the idea of teaching a method, or I'm trying to combine teaching a method with some layer of personality so that it can't be stolen. Because anybody can teach whatever method I'm saying, but nobody can be CG Matter.
Exactly, and that's a valuable thing. That's super valuable to be, a personality. Southern Shotty said, "Can you make a character rigging and animation tutorial?"
For anybody who's new here, never happening.
Guys, there are many avenues in a 3D program that you can have a career from. One's character designing. There are many. Mine is motion graphics. I'm going to be in that vein. Derek said,
I would say you guys should recommend things that are similar to what you've already seen. So for Ducky, recommend things that have to do with, motion graphics and stuff. And for me, recommend stuff that has to do with tracking.
Derek said, "Not going to lie, I had a tutorial for a CPU style render, then you came out with yours." Go do it, man. I'm interested to see how you would tackle it. You're not going to bother me if you do it. I was on Twitter and I saw one guy make this really cool CPU thing, but he had like made the pieces in Adobe Illustrator and imported the SVGs, and I didn't want to do that. And so I was like playing around for 3 hours until I came up with something that was not even remotely looking like his, but it looked super cool. And that's how I come up with a lot of my tutorials, is like cramming something that I've wanted to do forever, and I figured out.
Did you do the circuitry procedurally?
It was Voronoi mixed with some other stuff, so it was procedural.
I know. I'm sure. Have you heard of JS placement?
I have a tutorial on it. I think if you Google JS placement, my video comes up as the first result.
Nice job.
So I'm considering doing another video as a interesting practical application to it. It's a super cool program, and it's very the Cinema 4D community is super saturated with JS placement. If you go to Motion Graphics Collective or something, guaranteed the first 2 minutes of scrolling you'll see like 5 JS placement renders, because it's just so cool looking. It's super easy to use.
Yeah, I've thought about using it. Haven't touched it yet.
This is I'm directed to you. Why do you edit your default cube tutorials? I want to see you. Okay, sorry, I can't read. I don't want to see how you load render shit.
Well,
is that a hate comment?
Don't watch. I don't want you watching. You're not valuable to me in any way. Just leave.
How do you handle hate comments? Because I've gotten some brutal ones.
It's a mixture of like not reading comments and knowing that I'm like not better than them, but I'm providing value to some people. Whereas a comment I could delete and no one will ever know you say it, but I just leave it up. And then, that's just something you said and no one will ever care.
This one guy a long time ago in one of my, I think it's my second most popular video, and if you go to it, I think it's still pinned. This guy said it was an abstract sci-fi loop, just very Ducky3D style. This guy said, learn something in the 3D pipeline and forget this garbage mesh S word. And I didn't reply. I think I might have, but I just took the comment, I pinned it to the top, and I let everyone decide how they feel about that comment. And he got like quite a few replies, and it was very funny to watch. But
It's just so strange. It's a tutorial. It's not like a normal, different kind of video. You're giving information. You wouldn't expect people to be angry.
um, but I stole that from this comedian Chris D'Elia. What he'll do is he'll search his name on Twitter, and people who have not like added him, and then he'll see like they'll just say something mean about him, and he'll just retweet it. And then his 800,000 followers are gonna see it, and he goes, "You made your bed. You gonna lie in it." But I try not to be mean. I either ignore them or I give them a response that, I tell them what I think about that comment. Like if they're wrong, which they usually are. Like my thing is like if you didn't learn, if it's a tutorial that if you already knew how to do, then the tutorial wasn't for you. I'll post stuff on Instagram and they say, "Oh, that's easy." Well, it's easy for you,
Yeah.
but the kid who started last week has no idea how I did that.
And then they provide a different method that is somehow even worse.
Yeah.
That's always the worst thing.
Sometimes it's better though. I've actually learned quite a bit from comments. But one guy I posted on Instagram, it was just Voronoi. You know that Voronoi? I forget the name of it, but it kind of looks like a star if you crunch the color ramp. But
Yeah.
I added that with transparency, and then I duplicated the sphere into it, so it just looked like this weird sort of star
Cracked. Oh, no.
world thing, and it was just spinning
Okay.
and changing color. A guy commented, he's like, "I feel like you just muck around in the nodes, make something weird, post it, and act like it's difficult." And then I just replied, which is one thing I find very important. I replied to him, and the gist was, I don't make art for 3D artists. I make art to be beautiful. I make art to look interesting. And the path it took to make that, if it was easy, then that's great. And if it was more difficult and it's this cool, complex node setup, then that's great as well. But I don't make art to make other 3D artists go, "Oh, how did you do that?" I make art for just anyone to go, "I like the way that looks." And if you don't know how to do it, then I have a tutorial. If you know how to do it, then that's great that you know how to do that. You've learned some things. But I tell everyone, because it's very easy to get lost in the world of 3D art and making, oh, I know how to do all these complex things and all that, and check out my complex material and things like that. But at the end of the day, make art to look good, to look beautiful, to solve a problem, to say something. Don't make art to make other 3D artists go, "Oh, how'd you do that?" Because that is cool, but I think it's kind of pointless. Why are you making art? At the end of the day, don't get caught up in the program. You should get caught up in the output, the end product.
Well said. And before we ditch this, I think the same guy you probably read off of, it says contact. He says, "CG Matter, not hating, just wondering why you make the default cube videos so raw." Because that's how tutorials should be recorded if you're not editing them. You just record the thing, unless you made mistakes, and you just upload it.
My
That's
response to that would be, did you learn something?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how it was made if you learned something. I mean, honestly, if there's a dog barking in the next room, that's probably annoying. But you're providing valuable information, and if you learn something, that's fine. It doesn't matter if it's raw. Wait, Curtis Holt, he said, for hate comments, if you want to have fun, I agree with them in the third person.
He also said that people tell him that he has a weird voice. Curtis says, when I watched the first Curtis video, I was blown away by this like eloquent.
Yeah.
I've never heard somebody speak other than Grant Ebbett. He also has a nice voice. But those two.
Yeah. It's
sound
that
so
English
good.
accent. I mean, even in like movies, you guys have like I mean, I don't know what it is about the English accent, but it's awesome. It's either like Australian or English. Those are like the coolest accents. Everyone else, it's just an accent. Not hating on accents, but I think the most interesting ones are Australian and English because they either sound really cool or they're just like fun.
And
And
Curtis specifically, he somehow elevates it even another level. He just sounds so good in his tutorials. At least I think.
yeah, I don't find it weird at all. It's just super. I mean, it's an English accent. That's why like people. I was about to say Morgan Freeman, but he's not English. He just has a good voice. But like people with a good voice, like Curtis has a very good speaking voice, and it's easy to listen to. And you know how most villains in movies are now English. You know.
Yeah, and I feel kind of bad for. I feel like there's a bunch of people who make tutorials who probably have, let's say, an Indian accent is something a lot of people complain about. Yeah, I don't know what to do in that case.
There's nothing. I guess I'm used to it because I've grown up on tutorials.
Yeah,
But I mean, I don't have a problem with the Indian accent. I can understand them clearly, and that's
yeah,
like
I've
almost
definitely
half
had
of my.
issues before, but usually it's just bad mic quality.
Yeah, I think the funniest thing is like either having your roommates talking or a dog barking in the background. It's like kind of takes you out of it, but it's kind of funny. It's almost like when you see a picture of like a selfie, I sort of gravitate to not the person, but whatever's in the background because it's just like, what's their life like? It's like always interesting to get those like weird nuggets of someone's life because I find people just to be so interesting.
Hmm. Somebody asks us if we have experience scripting our own macros for Blender, and could you talk about learning some of this stuff? Scripting is Curtis. You go to Curtis. I've done one thing with scripting before, and does the facial motion capture. But that's about it.
I any kind of code, any kind of scripting, I run away from it. I just last semester I had my web my intro to web and it was just coding. And I never want to look at it again, but I think I have definitely have like 3 more classes to stare at code and I'm dreading every second of it. So it's
Well,
not
what
going to get
language would that be?
this class was HTML and CSS.
Okay.
But I watched Curtis's video on making I forget what the plugin was, but I was like I can't no way.
Mesh machine or the mesh or the mech builder
Yeah,
or
the
the
mech builder.
yeah.
I mean, kudos to you guys who make that because from like a business standpoint, you guys are valuable because not a lot of people know how to do that. So if you're making valuable content that no one knows how to make, people will pay for it. Um, you know, so I think that's super valuable to you as a person if you know how to code. Like my roommate, we're both in our second year of college and he's making a full-time salary, making a good bit of money because he knows how to code. So if you want to know a business to go to and you like coding, be a web developer. You'll make a lot of money.
Yep. I'll co-sign that.
Yeah. I mean, you have a degree in math, like, you know, having knowledge of all those math nodes and things like even your fractal tutorial. It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was very curious about the. I asked you earlier about the stacking noises thing, because I know a lot about how to do procedural noise making, very specific things. Like if I wanted to make a labyrinth, like a maze, a procedural maze, I could do that. But this like stacking, like randomness thing, I still don't have like experience with. So I don't really know what to expect when I plug a Musgrave into a Voronoi or whatever.
That's my favorite one. You just said it. Musgrave to Voronoi. If you attach that to a color ramp and to a volume, you make smoke, like cigarette smoke that does that. It's the prettiest, in my opinion, the prettiest node, simple node combination, which is to actually today's tutorial, the Nebula one. It was Musgrave. It was a Voronoi to a Musgrave, some other stuff, and then the noise texture. It's one of the ones I use all the time with my client work. It's just pretty. Well, somebody said, do you guys use render farms or are most of the things in your tutorials rendered on your own computers? I would say 85% of my stuff is rendered on tutorial from my computer, unless, like, for example, me and you have CoreWeave sponsorships now. That stuff obviously is rendered with CoreWeave, and I use it in my personal work because a lot of animations. So, but if it's like a big animated thing, it's definitely rendered with a render farm now. If it's an Eevee animation, probably not because Eevee is very easy. But if I have like more than 1,000 frames to render an Eevee, I'll give it to Render Farm.
Yeah, yeah, we both use Render Farm since we get to use it for kind of free, kind of. Not really. We somehow pay more than what somebody would pay. What I'm saying is we provide more value than somebody who just pays for the render. So, some sense we earn it. But yeah, otherwise, if I'm rendering off my computer, low sample count cycles. That's what I usually do.
Yeah. And there's not enough tutorials about optimizing cycles, and we need that. So anybody you in the chat who are interested in making tutorials, go after that, which I would recommend, which is how I got my start. Find something that's not there that you wish is there, learn it, and then teach it. Or if you already know how to do it, then just teach it.
Everybody's saying Python's easy. Cool.
Yeah, I haven't touched it, but I think I will, actually. I think I have to do that in my class.
Oh, this one's directed at you, kind of. Do you use a desktop or mainly a laptop?
Well, for the past year and a half, it was a laptop up until this week. I just made my desktop, which hopefully it's not going to be blown out. He's right there. Which I will have a video on in the coming week.
Was that RGB I saw with the lights and all that?
I don't know, man. You'll see it all, but yeah, I got 2 RTX 2080 Supers. I got a Ryzen something CPU, which I'll have a whole video on. So I can't. People keep messaging me about like what's in it, but I'm not a computer. I don't know that much. I got advice from my computer science degree wielding dad, Southern Shoddy, and my roommate. So I'm like pretty illiterate with this stuff, but they told me what to get. They told me why it's good, and I got it. Thanks to everyone watching. That's how I was able to afford it. So this is an investment for the future of the channel and the future for my freelance career. So it's super cool.
Yeah, I'm running off a laptop, and I was like, I hope I make enough ad revenue to pay for this laptop. And then it worked out.
Yeah, so you invested early.
Yep. Risky move.
No, I'm always scared to dump money on anything, but I just sort of did the math, and I knew I would get the money back at some point. So I'm super grateful to this internet thing that happened to me. I was just planning on working at a design studio, which is still something I might do, and I'm not opposed to at all. But this is just something I've always wanted to do. It's just crazy. All this stuff is crazy. Like, did you think you would be doing this a year ago?
It was strange because I've been making tutorials about different things for a while. I used to do After Effects, then I did a tiny bit of C++ coding tutorials. So I did get both of those channels to a point where they were making like ad revenue that could have scaled. So I did have a sense of it, actually. But
yeah, I had made, for those of you who know what Adobe Dimension is, which is their very simple 3D application, not for animation, just sort of almost like compositing. The idea is you put a photo in it, you drop a model in there, you use their pre-made HDRIs, and you make it look like it's in the photo. So it's sort of like streamlined compositing. I made one tutorial where I took an image in Photoshop, I extruded it, threw that into Dimension, added a glass. It's a pretty cool design still to this day, I think. And if you look up NVTE, you can see some pretty bad vlogs and one tutorial. See what happens if I just look that up. NVTE, which is Nate. So if you look up NVTE, you'll have to scroll for a while. But it has 300 subscribers, and yeah, there's just one tutorial on there. That was my first tutorial. It should be a picture of, obviously it should be a picture of me. NVTE. And just look up channels on the filter. Let's see, channels, and yeah. Let's hope none of this content ends up, yeah, there I am. Let's hope none of this content ends up in a CG Matter video. Yeah, it says Amazing 3D with Adobe products only. That's my first tutorial. And then I have some motion graphics reels from a year ago, some of my video work, which I was a photographer and videographer before I moved into 3D stuff, which I haven't touched since I moved to Nashville.
Somebody tells you to tell me that DaVinci Resolve has a fully... I use DaVinci Resolve. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, no, I use Premiere.
And somebody asks, is it possible? They asked multiple times, is it possible to export PBR materials to Unreal Engine 4? Okay, so I think that question shows a fundamental lack of understanding of what PBR is. A big point of it is that it's stored in textures, like a metalness map, a roughness map, a base color. Once you have these textures, you can put them in any software, any engine. So yes, you can just use the textures. Or
Someone,
if they're
sorry.
procedural, bake them.
One guy said all Adobe products are so outdated. To be honest, I'm saying this after 10 years of Photoshop. Is that the only program you used? I used the whole suite. I
It's not
can't.
outdated.
I can't disagree or agree because I don't know enough. Every tool is useful in Photoshop, whether it's outdated or not. I haven't run into a problem where I wish something was more useful. Um, Photoshop now has AI learning. It sees what you're doing and it optimizes. An incredible program. I use After Effects. I use InDesign. I use Illustrator. A lot of people want to hate on it, but there's some. It's got the linking. Like you have this vector file, then you're in After Effects. You can link an vector file and then live edit it. The entire suite is something amazing. And if you're a working artist, $50 a month is chump change. If you're making a full time, uh, salary, and if you're a student, it's $20. So you're good there. So I mean, people will hate on it, but if you can afford it, get it because it's an incredible software family. And then, of course, if you don't want to, there's plenty of other programs that are out there that are open source or just free. Um, I'm not one of those people that's going to have sort of the battle of the programs. Like back when I did photography, there's like, oh, I like Canon over Nikon, and I like Sony. Like people would battle over them. I never cared. It's like use what you have, and like I was talking about, like don't worry about the program. Worry about the output. If you could take a cool photo, you could take a cool photo. It doesn't matter if you have a Sigma 24 mm lens over the standard, you know, zoom 15-28 lens that came with the camera. It doesn't matter if you can take a really striking photo. Then who cares what program? As soon as you post on Instagram, no one knows what camera you used. So like those sort of battle of the brands, like Adobe versus this versus that, it doesn't matter. I understand sort of the process that it takes to get to a certain output, but it's all about, do you have an interesting idea? Does the program you have, can it achieve that idea? Then tackle the idea.
Yeah, and relatedly, on the what software you should use, somebody asks if Photoshop's better than GIMP. Depends what you mean. If you mean better as in cheaper, no. One of them's free, one of them's not. If it's better in that there's more tutorials, yes. And that's why most people get it, because it has better people actually know about it because it's advertised in that sense. So yeah, just use whatever you can afford. I don't know how anybody can afford Nuke though, because that's thousands of dollars. But
I interned at an ad agency, like a little over like a year and a half ago. We'll just say 2 years. And they had Nuke, and it was so cool to watch them use Nuke. And yeah, those stuff is crazy. Agreed, Ducky. It says, I'm just reading the comments now. It says, for example, I did a lot of 360 photography, and Adobe has nothing for 360 photography. They kind of do. I've imported HDRIs into Photoshop, and I can kind of see what's going. But I agree they should step it up with that. But I've never needed to deal with it, So 360 photographers have their own little weird, obscure programs.
somebody asked both of us, can you make a tutorial about storing materials into textures?
What does that mean? Like baking them
Yeah,
onto?
look up baking. That will get you where you want.
Yeah, there's plenty of those. Why is Blender free? Because it's open source. That's literally it.
Yep.
Open source mean you can look at the code and you can play with it and you can change it. It's not illegal.
And it's free in that sense, but also if you want to do a lot of stuff, you're going to need add-ons, and those aren't free.
Exactly.
Although, kind of, apparently, with the licensing or whatever, a lot of the add-ons post their stuff for free on GitHub, but they just don't promote it. So you can get a lot of stuff for free, but they just don't tell you so that you pay for it.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I completely forgot. Yeah,
free Blender
yeah. It annoys me that can you make so yeah,
stinger.
I don't know what
I
that
don't know what that
means.
means.
Um, it annoys me that people, when they hear that Blender's free, they immediately think it's cheap. But they don't, I guess, because they don't understand the concept of open source, or they have no idea that it is open source. That's like, I think Blender's biggest hurdle is the fact that it's free, and people immediately look down on it. But I saw this article from MoGraph Mentor, which is a pretty big company that does teaching and things like that. And they just made an article about the fact that Blender is probably going to be the head product for motion designers in the future, which is super cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I found out about Blender from listening to Grayscale Gorilla just offhandedly be like, oh yeah, it's a program. They do 3D and they also have a like a video editor, so they're trying to do everything at once, and they're just sort of like pushing it off to the side. And then a couple days later, I was thinking about that. I was like, let's check it out.
So,
Now,
so that's how you found out about it? Is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
I found out about it from someone trashing it. RTX for Blender, you can use optics like up to 50% faster. Best performing GPU is the Titan RTX Blender. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I have two 2080 Supers. If you watch today's tutorial on the Nebula, you can see that in action. It's super fast.
I'm trying to be more creative. Do you have any tips to be as creative as you guys are?
Yes.
Do
Sorry, I
you
didn't
have
mean to
any
interrupt you.
tips?
Yes. For me, it's Instagram. I follow tons and tons of art accounts, and I'm constantly bombarded with good art and good inspiration. Then I save it, and then I go into my program and I try to tackle what they did and then do my own thing with it. And the best inspiration is take something that you think is really cool and then try to figure it out on your own. And then through that, you'll come up with a really cool idea. You'll ditch the other thing. You'll make the new thing. You make something really cool. Also, just chill out. That's another tip to get inspired. Just chill out. If you're trying too hard to get inspired, you're not going to get inspired. So just like sit down, watch some Netflix, watch some YouTube, go hang out with somebody, forget about art for a day, and rest your brain, because your brain needs to be rested. There's a reason why you come up with ideas in the shower, because your brain is literally resting. You need to be to come up with really good ideas. You need to be in a spot where you're you're bored, almost. You need to be like mentally bored, and then your brain starts spinning. Like when I'm driving from New Orleans to Nashville, the amount of notes that I write is so much more than when I'm sitting on my desk. Also, if you're staring at a screen, this is something I figured out even with music, making music. If you're sitting at your computer and you're staring at the blank gray empty Blender scene, you can't really come up with a lot of ideas. You need to be somewhere else to generate ideas. You don't need to be. It's just very effective to be somewhere else, looking at your phone, being outside, looking at art. Go to a museum, go to Hobby Lobby. Just go, like, Hobby Lobby surprisingly has a lot of material inspiration. So I go to Hobby Lobby and I'll take a picture of something and I'll make the material. So go somewhere else. Don't stare at a blank gray screen, because that's not the place to get inspiration, is a blank gray screen.
I would say the reason you think we're more creative than you is because I think it's just that we spend more time on it by orders of magnitude, not just 20% more. We probably spend somewhere like 1,000% more time in Blender or anything 3D related than whoever
Yeah.
commented.
I spend about 8 to 9 hours total on a workday in Blender playing with
Yeah, I
things.
spend a lot of time in a day.
I mean, even like I'll wake up in the day, say I just have homework. I'll spend like 3 hours on homework. The rest of the day is spent in Blender. Then I'll go hang out with someone. I'll get home, and then I'll just sit there. I'm like, all right, let's get in Blender, and then I'll be up till like 2 a.m. without realizing it in Blender. To get inspiration, also do something that you're enjoying. If you're not enjoying it, you're not gonna have fun. Like I never enjoyed piano lessons, so I was not coming up with piano songs. I hated it. So don't do something that you know will make you a lot of money, even though you're gonna hate it. So like, do it if you enjoy it. Keep at it and be patient.
Okay. So this one's just coming from me. Do you have any, in terms of Ducky3D, not like the other ventures, do you have any change in like direction coming up in the future? Like
No.
not just in terms of new ideas, but like overall changes in direction.
Uh, this is my first time publicly announcing it. The only big change right now is going to be a branding change. I'm getting a new website. I'm getting a new logo. I'm getting a new animation for the beginning of the videos. I'm getting a type family typography. I'm getting a color scheme. But in terms of the actual content, I'm sticking to just making interesting tutorials that look cool and making products. I want to make a motion graphics. I'm planning on doing a motion graphics course. I'm doing another big material library, hopefully like 200 materials, as well as a model pack of models. So nothing's really going to change.
I need your opinion on this because I've been debating. I haven't started yet. I'm going to be making a tutorial series about procedural nodes, and it's not necessary. It's going to be all very specific. How to make a circle, how to make a square. Now you have both of those. How to make a like a pill, and then you just keep leveling up until you're making these crazy things. Do I make this free on YouTube or do I sell it for like $10, let's say?
Okay. Well, you're putting me in a tough spot because people are watching. Um, okay. In terms of business for you as a person, if you're trying to sustain yourself, sell it for $10. But if you want to make the fans as happy as possible, sell it for free. The thing is, right? What'll make you more money? I'm doing the money side of this. I apologize if you don't like to hear this, guys. If you think you'll get more ad revenue on YouTube by putting it out for free, then do that. But if you think you're going to make more revenue by selling it for $10 like on Gumroad or Udemy, then do that. But if you are just trying to get, if your goal is to get a big subscriber base and trying to make the subscribers happy and doing that, like if obviously you're making a course for them, so even selling it for $10, you're still making content for them. But selling it for $10, also selling it for $10, if this took a whole lot of your time, you need to get that back. Because at the end of the day, time is money. So if you think you'll make a lot of money from ad revenue, then put it on YouTube.
Yeah, a lot. Everybody in the chat saying do it for free, and you guys probably coming from a certain bias. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was thinking about it. If it's going to be something that's like running 10 hours, which should be sold for like $40, you make it 10. Because I was thinking about it, because I've been doing it. So I had this idea before when I did the tracking series, which is a 4-hour thing about how to use motion tracking. I'll do it for free, whatever. But yeah, I was thinking about it.
Yeah, some people, I've seen some comments. Some people say because Blender's free, whatever you make with Blender should also be free. But that's not true
Nope.
because there's an old fact that will always be true. Time is money. And me and you are at a point in our lives where we need to start making money because I'm 21. How old are you?
About 22, but
Okay.
21.
We're old enough to really need to start considering our future. Like if I was just in high school and I'm still living at my parents' house, I don't need to make any money. But now I'm at a point where I need to start thinking about my future and start saving and investing. So we need to invest our time. So we apologize if money is a problem. But we also put out tons of free content on YouTube. So that's like the baseline. Everything else is a plus, and that plus takes a lot of time, so we need to charge. Now, we're not charging outrageous numbers. As far as I'm aware, most of my content is fairly affordable, which I keep it that way. Like I released 80 materials for $40. That's 50 cents a material, which I'm going to stay to that. Hopefully, I'm going to stay to that idea where most of my packs are going to be about 50 cents a material.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Let's see. People are saying make it free for the first episode. Da, 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 da. I don't know. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna sell it for very cheap, but then also make separate tutorials so that people are getting free stuff, and this is just a separate thing you could do. Let's see. No, nobody's asking. Guys, refresh the chat with some new questions.
You guys got to make a living. Okay, I thought that was a question. I'm almost making a living. Even with 70,000 subscribers,
I'm making substantially below minimum wage, at least in my state.
I did the math. I think I'm making a little bit over minimum wage. So if you guys think about it, we would need a lot more subscribers to
It's ridiculous.
to make this sustainable, which is why I sell products, is to hopefully get to a point where I can make this. If I was doing this full time, I didn't have college, that would be awesome because I would be able to output so much more tutorials on YouTube, which is where I'd like to be at. Which would be great for you guys because
Somebody asks if Natron can replace Nuke. Like, the answer is no, and I don't know why it's important because Natron's already a tool that exists and you can use it. I don't know why you need it to replace Nuke.
What's Natron?
Natron is this open source compositor that rips everything off of Nuke in the sense that it has the same design. It's kind of like a clone of it, but it's free. It's kind of like the same thing GIMP is to Photoshop.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't messed with a lot of compositing, even in Blender. I don't even know anything about the compositor in Blender outside of the glare node. Which I need to do more, research into because I think there's some cool things to do with compositing. But most of the time, I just throw my output into Photoshop and I do my coloring from there. Because that's just what I'm comfortable with.
Do you ever do the same kind of thing for your loops with After Effects with the color grading and all that?
No, I don't color grade my loops that often. It's mostly because in Eevee, most everything requires some kind of contrast to be added. So I just do that with the gain. The gamma, and then I take in the filmic, I put very high contrast, and then once that's done, there's not a lot of color grading I need to do. And it's rare, and most of the time I hate color grading footage that's not. Because it usually just ends up crushing it and compressing it, making it look bad. So it's hard to find that balance. But most of the time, my Eevee stuff is fairly well saturated, so I don't need to touch it. But
have you tried the game engine?
No, I have never touched it. Are you talking about Eevee? Nope.
I think they're saying the game engine and Blender before 2.8.
Oh, no, I've never touched it. Yeah, no. Why does
Wait,
Blender...
so do you have the whole suite, did you say? The whole Adobe suite?
Yeah.
That gives you all the programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Which of those do you end up using?
Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Dimension, Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, After Effects, Premiere. Let me see. It's a
good chunk.
Yeah, I use 80% of them. I did the math a while back, but I use 80% of the programs, so I get my fill. I definitely get my money's worth. But if you're just you can actually just buy one program, like with Photoshop, $10 a month. You can get Photoshop and what's it called? Okay, Lightroom. That's another one I use, Lightroom. So, which is your photo editor. Like you would use photo editing in Photoshop to do really complex things. With Lightroom, you're messing with tonal things, lights, saturation, lightness, shadows, and all that stuff. And then you could edit 1,000 photos at once, which is super cool.
Do they have that deal for After Effects, the $10 thing?
Probably. They would probably give you After Effects and Premiere, and probably Media Encoder as well.
That's the only thing I want, really.
Yeah. Did you ever pirate it?
No comment.
As a young person, I tried pirating it, but I was too stupid to know how to do it. And then when I was younger, I watched a lot of YouTubers. So that the classic 3D text going bam right on the ground and things fly. Yeah. I thought you do that in After Effects. Little did I know, After Effects is not the greatest 3D program.
Well, nowadays they've got some stuff with Element 3D and all that.
Element 3D is amazing. That's such a great program for people who are just beginning. Yeah, I got a buddy of mine. We collaborated on something, and he used Element 3D, and it looked really good for the amount of work that he put into it.
Yeah, my first technically freelance anything is a friend of mine's I'm making a YouTube gaming channel. Make me a sick dubstep-esque intro. I'm okay.
You want to hear something? Sorry, you hear something funny? So you know who Mr. Beast is, right?
Yeah.
My roommate back in the day when Mr. Beast was really small, he made his YouTube banner.
Ooh.
And then hadn't talked to him since. And Mr. Beast was and my roommate's, he's like, maybe I should stay in contact with that guy. It's
When did he rebrand and ditch the banner that your friend made?
I have no idea. I'll have to ask him. But
I
yeah,
don't know if this was asked. What did he go to school for? Mathematics. That's it.
I'm in school for graphic design. And the thought process behind that was I've been self-taught in animation for quite a while, but I need the technical skills back with graphic design, which you would think graphic design is just making websites and making logos, but there's so much back end. There's learning about printing. There's 1,000 things that can go wrong with printing. You need to know about inks. You need to know about fonts. What can go wrong with fonts? You need to know there's 1,000 things that there are questions you don't even know to ask that you learn in graphic design school. That and they also teach you skills with coming up with logo designs, trying to think of new things, the Gestalt principles, all that stuff. So that's what I'm in school for. But
And
will my title be graphic designer in my professional career? Probably not.
do you pay for like student version of things then, or do they give it to you through the school?
I'm paying $30 a month for the Adobe suite. Other than that, there's no student version that I've needed to buy of something yet.
Wait, Curtis says something. He is addressing both of us. If you want to make your channels more sustainable without modifying your content in a way that'll annoy your audience, then I can give you some tips. Please do give tips.
Email us.
Yes. Or type the small ones in the chat. That's fine too. But yeah, email.
But yeah, I feel like I have the business side mildly figured out. So I'm super excited about the future that is the Ducky3D channel. And for those of you who are daunted by the money thing, just know that the more money that we make, the more output we can give to you that's free. The more that we can dedicate time to this channel, which money allows, we can give you guys more things that are not paid. So it's not a bad thing. We're not taking content from you. If anything, we're being able to make money from this. We're able to put more time and money into this. For example, buying a new computer so I can make them Nebula tutorial. I was never able to do that, which the Nebula tutorial is free. And now you know how to make a Nebula, like a very easy Nebula if you've never touched them. Things like that. We're able to output more things if we're able to make a full-time salary from this.
Yep.
So
I
don't
currently
be
have a
scared.
tutorial a day scheduled for like a week straight in the future. So
That's how I got 1,000 subscribers. I was doing the daily thing, and it worked very well. So for those of you who want to make a tutorial channel, if you can do daily, it'll do wonders for your channel. But obviously, this past 3 months have not been easy, so I haven't done daily.
huh. I guess I ramped up recently.
Yeah, and I noticed this month did really well because I did more frequent stuff.
I'm still waiting on the PC video. When's that coming out?
We're having an issue, which delayed it. So we bought, let's see, what is this? EVGA. Okay, so I bought the, what's the name of the company? So I bought 2 Asus graphics cards, and they're pretty thick. And we stacked them, and they're kind of close to each other. So we're noticing the one that's on the bottom, it's getting kind of hot. So what I have to do is I have to send the Asus ones back and buy. So the Asus ones are RTX 2080 Super. We're actually going to buy a EVGA RTX 2080 Super. Like the Asus ones are that thick, the EVGA are that thick. So we're still getting the same power. It's just a different company. So just Asus had attached this fat cooling system that has now developed a problem. So we're sending that back in. Once I get the new graphics cards, I can make the video. So that's a bit delayed, but it's fine, I guess. At least I won't get those comments. I'm dreading the comments I'm going to get on that video, but it'll be okay.
Do you ever just not read them? Because you don't have to.
I always read them. I read every
Do you
single
ever
comment.
not want to?
I'll probably not want to read the ones on the computer.
Right, the thing, my channel is just so much like memeier that like
Yeah.
the comments are just garbage, half of them. So like I read some of them and I interact with some of them, but then afterwards it just turns into a garbage fest. I just don't.
He said, question is the live stream will that be on your channel or will it be taken down after a few days? I think I might leave it. This is a pretty good stream. I'm actually enjoying
Yeah,
this
I did one. I left it. It's not. It's like weird. It's not considered an upload. It's like its own separate thing that people can watch, but it doesn't affect like performance on a next upload in a weird way or anything.
Dude, actually, Southern Shoddy asked me this question. Does the performance of one video affect the next one that will come up?
In some sense, if you like upload 2 a day, it seems to only recommend the first.
Instagram does that
Or
too.
or maybe I don't know, it like messes up the recommendation cycle because subscriptions don't work and allegedly those bell notifications don't work either. So it's just a question of can you get recommended to your subscribers or people who watch your videos but for some reason don't subscribe. So it does matter the spacing between videos.
Yeah, algorithms are weird. Okay, so I posted two pictures to Instagram yesterday. This one has 1,900 likes. The other one has 700 likes, and I uploaded them within an hour of each other. So the algorithms are a bit weird when it comes to recommendations and things, which is why if you guys are on Instagram and you're trying to develop a feed, use your Instagram stories because that the algorithm does not really touch those. So
Yeah, we got to start a mailing list. That's the only way to reliably notify anybody of anything.
are you? Would you get on Instagram, or do you feel like that's not sort of a CG matter, valuable thing?
I could, but normally the kind of stuff I would post there, these like gifs or like anything like that, I post to the Patreon as exclusive stuff because usually they're previews for like what I'm making next.
Yeah, for me, I do a fairly similar thing. So I work a lot in Blender, just making fun things. I post it to Instagram, but for $5 or $10, you can get the project files for that. So I'm up. So there's tons of project files on my Patreon, which is super. I think people really enjoy those.
Do you consider making tutorials about function nodes?
What's function nodes?
It's the new particle system.
I will. Yeah, definitely. I saw one guy. He posted it on Twitter. The particles went and formed a word, and they went to another word, and that's so valuable for motion graphics. So that's definitely something that I want to definitely try out. The procedural particle system is something that I think will be really, really powerful.
Yeah, I should look into it.
Yeah, someone said Ian has a 24-year work experience. Yeah, and it shows. Ian Hubert.
Yep. I love those like last shots in his tutorial.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
The cool thing about Ian, I don't know if it was you that told me, but someone had told me. The interesting thing about Ian's subscriber base is a lot of them aren't even people who use Blender. They just find them entertaining, which is a super cool thing for him.
He gets trending on the like the r/video subreddit and stuff. So a lot of people find him via Reddit, it seems.
Oh, really? That's how I got my start. That's how I got my. I wouldn't even say it was a start. It was just my first viewership, which was like 24 people. I would just post on the Blender subreddit, and then people would click it because like, how do I get someone to watch these videos? So I just put it on the Blender subreddit, and it kind of grew from there, and then I ended up being on the Blender subreddit as the YouTube guy. Like, you're that YouTube guy, which is funny.
Curtis is back and says YouTube is supposed to be able to send notifications for a maximum of 3 videos a day from any channel when it works.
Okay. Also, this thing about the kappa doesn't seem like that's going to be at all worrisome for anybody. Which
I don't know.
usually
Is the average Blender user 9 years old?
probably not. But I don't even think it's only going to be worrisome for people who legitimately make kids content. But
Yep.
everyone freaks out, and I knew as soon as people freaked out, I thought it's not going to be that bad. I doubt it's ever going to be, an issue. If it is an issue, then I'm scared, but it shouldn't be.
Okay, this guy's been commenting this from the beginning of the stream, so let me just address this. Rohan, he says, blah, 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 make glass work with the environment. Make sure that in the world settings, in the background, you plug in your HDRI and that you don't set it to transparent in the film settings. That will give you refraction via glass. There you go.
EV glass is a very big requested thing.
Does the glass shader not work?
It works. It's just EV doesn't make transparency look as good as Cycles does. Especially say you have a sphere, right? And you attach, bring that transmission all the way up. it like
Yeah.
looks like a solid glass ball. If you add a solidify, then it looks like a very thin glass ball. If you do the same thing, it still looks like a solid glass ball. So that's how Eevee, because it is a game engine, and it's not a game engine, it is a real-time engine, it's going to cut corners. So getting glass to look really good in Eevee requires a little bit more legwork.
Hmm.
It says, where do you promote your tutorials? I don't promote them anymore, because having 70,000 subscribers I feel like is enough. Now I have to sort of worry about making something that'll get put in or recommended, or just something that people will want to watch. Like the car paint tutorial, thought was going to be a valuable video. It has like 7,000 views, which is still really good, as long as I'm getting my personal sort of goal on the channel is what was I going to say? My personal goal on the channel is to get at least 7,000 videos on a video, because in terms of analytics, if you're getting 10% of your audience to watch something, then you're fine. If you get anything more than that, then you're doing really good. So like the car paint material has 8.2 thousand views. I'm happy with that. The last one has 74,000 views, which is insane. I expected 10,000 views on that. So yeah, which is the channel's, as long as I meet that 10% mark, then I'm not going to be complaining.
Yeah, it's funny how your standards go up. In the beginning, I just wanted any view that wasn't me watching my own video.
Yeah, man. I remember getting 100 views. I was like so happy, and then a video got
Yeah.
700 views, and then I started chasing what worked, which is what you should do. Um, my argument to people saying, like, I'll get the comment sometimes. One dude attacked me. He's like, this tutorial could be done in cycles and Eevee. You just put Eevee in it because it's a hot word. Yes and no. Yes, because it is a hot word. No, because I recorded and rendered it in Eevee. I don't know what your point is. So obviously, and the third reason is because I run a laptop. I'm not rendering this in cycles. It was an animation. But my point to people saying that it's wrong to try to get views is, then what's the reason of making the video if no one's going to watch it? You know, like, I'm not making a tutorial to get 0 views, then I wasted my time, and no one's getting whatever information I'm providing. So, if you have a valuable piece of information, then people are going to watch it, which means you're going to get views. So I'm not chasing views. I'm chasing valuable content to say,
I
Now,
just at this point my standard is like I don't really care about the number of views. I just want to be able to make enough money making tutorials and all stuff surrounding it so that I could just do that. But
is is that sort of your short term goal right now, is to try to sort of sustain with
yeah,
tutorials?
yeah, which is why I'm trying. I'm gonna, for anybody who joined the stream, I'm gonna try out something new for the next one, because my goal isn't necessarily to make, at least with the CG Matter stuff, to make the most like informative thing. It's to make the most entertaining thing that you just enjoy watching, and that's pretty much all there is to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so I'm guessing since you finished college, you're taking some time off to focus.
Yeah, I have some time to like really focus on this, and I just need to make a certain amount of money so my girlfriend and I can buy, an
Yeah.
apartment or whatever it may be.
Yeah, this YouTube thing has allowed me to get a new apartment, because right now I live in the same room with my roommate, which means no access to a good background. So for the same price, we're getting a new one, and then I'll have a more professional looking background. I'm trying to go to a more professional person to a kid in his, bedroom. At least visually, which is why I'm paying for a rebrand and all that stuff.
People are telling you to enable super chat on your thing.
I have no idea what is that. What
It's
it?
like the donation system for live streams.
Oh yeah, I haven't enabled that. I'll have to do that when I end
Yeah,
this.
you gotta do it. You gotta do it like separately. So if you before like the next live stream, you can do it
Oh,
probably.
for sure. Yeah. Once, yeah. By the way, guys, for future, so the apartment I live in currently is terrible, terrible Wi-Fi, and I can't stream. But in August, I will be doing frequent streams because I'm getting better Wi-Fi. So look out for August streams, and so I'll be doing some streams this week. For that, I'm home for a while, so I'll have good Wi-Fi here. So I'll be hopefully doing 2 or 3 more, and I'll enable super chat for that.
Somebody asks how to make a tutorial on my logo. Basically, watch Ducky's car paint tutorial. Do that, and then displace it using a distorted wave texture.
Uh,
That's pretty
so
much
there
it.
is some glitter in yours.
I think I'm trying to remember how I made it. I think initially I did probably what you did for the car paint stuff, like, two glossies or things like it mixed together with a Fresnel or something, and then you just displace it. I think
Cool.
that's how I made it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll never forget the first time you memed me.
Which one was that? What was the first meme video?
You vector displaced a
And
sphere.
that's a Ducky3D tutorial.
It's funny. Okay, this might be a TMI, but it's funny that every time I watch your video and you meme me, I'm on the toilet. I'm sitting, not expecting anything, and you're like, Ducky 3D. It's like, why do I have to be in the bathroom for him to meme me? But, but it's like it's a funny thing that happens. So I think I have to run away from the bathroom if I want to stay out of your videos.
Whenever something like that happens to me, or like I got mentioned in a Grant Edit live stream, it always makes me feel so uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah, it really does. Because I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm being directly addressed.
Uh,
I just don't like it.
oh, you don't
So
like that kind of attention?
yeah, I just do it for I do it on you and for other people, just for the memes and hopefully so that there's more crossover in
Yeah.
audience.
I think it's hilarious. You don't have to stop doing that. I think it's super funny, and I think now it's sort of merged our two audiences. We almost have the exact same subscriber numbers now.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, no, it's so funny to see like what you're doing. Yeah, the first time you memed me, I was like, he knows who I am, because I was a huge fan of your channel, and yeah, I forget where you were in your channel at that time, but that was like 5 months ago. I don't even know. The video's
Yeah.
doing really well. It has like 150,000 views.
Yep. That's when I picked up the fast format. People,
Uh,
I didn't get the Blender binge backlash. Um, I don't know why.
yeah, that's weird that you didn't get that. I was actually expecting that when I read your comments. Like, why isn't this guy getting hated on?
I guess the difference is Ian. If you watch an Ian Hubert tutorial, they're not fast. They're short, but they're not fast in any way. Where I think that what Blender Binge probably made the mistake of is trying to copy the same jokes, like, this kind of thing where you end a video with moths add realism to anything, like this kind of structure of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I just made a fast tutorial. It wasn't a lazy one. It was just a fast one, which I think
Yeah, and your
probably
sense
why.
of humor is different than his. Yours is more.
Right, and I show like real life footage of things.
Yeah.
It's not really the same format.
Yeah. Um, cool. Man, we've been going for an hour and we're going in an hour and 27 minutes.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
I need at the latest I have 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
At the most.
We'll go with the last comment. Someone says, how many cups of coffee do you drink before a tutorial?
Mm. I don't think I've ever. Sometimes I try to hype myself up before I start because
Do
I
some
can talk
push-ups?
fast. Sometimes stuff like that, or I just like do like a little jog or something. Because I can talk fast, but to make it energetic, you need to feel good.
Really? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I just don't want to record a tutorial because I feel shitty.
I get a lot of anxiety while recording. There's a lot of times I do this, like I'll breathe deep and like, and then I'll start my next sentence. But it's like, I don't know, I'm not even rushing myself, but I don't know, like I feel pressure or something while I'm recording. Like I don't know.
It's because of the audience. I bet you didn't have that during the beginning.
It's weird. Like I used to never stutter, and now I'm like, oh, let's go back.
That's part of why I don't read the comments. I don't want to know who's watching it necessarily.
My worst fear is say I'm recording, my roommate walks in, we talk about something, he leaves, and I forget to edit that out, and then the comments are like, ah, da, 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 da. That's like my worst fear.
That happened, not exactly that, but something like that happened in a Blender Guru tutorial. I forget the context, but he like accidentally left something in. It was really funny. Or I think he did a second take, so he like restarted his sentence, but he kept in the original. That was funny.
Yeah, for me, I don't want to look unprofessional, so I always try to keep a view on that. All right, dude.
Okay.
Well, I think that's it, man. This was
Thanks
fun.
everybody for watching.
Yeah, this was fun, man. Thanks for doing this.
I'll just plug myself. CG Matter. That's all you need to know.
and I don't need to plug
Okay.
myself.
Okay.
All right.
See you, everybody.
Peace, guys.